Alright, y'all, it's Kenny Smith, Total Force Holdings. What we're going to talk about today is lockpicking. Lockpicking. Before we get started, two things. Number one, understand the laws in your jurisdiction. Okay? In North Carolina, carrying lockpicks on your body can be construed as possession of a burglary tool. Not something you want to play with. Again, if you're going to carry lockpicks, make sure you have a good lawful reason. Also understand, if you're in North Carolina in particular, it is against the law to provide locksmithing services without a license. Now, to my knowledge, that does not apply if it's your own locks. So, number two, one, obviously, know your laws. Number two, make sure you stay legal. Lock sport is a thing. People do pick locks for fun. I have a couple of locks in the house that I play with when I get bored. This is the one we're going to play with today. This is my practice lock. I pick this thing all the time. Now, I'm not the best in the world at this. This is not necessarily an instructional video. This is more like a down and dirty. Alright, I'm going to attack this lock with two different tools to show the two typical ways to pick what's called a pin and tumbler lock. Pin and tumbler lock has a cylinder. Okay, the part that turns right there. And it's got two-piece pins with a spring at the top. Now, what these two-piece pins do is if you look at a common key, right, you see the hills and valleys. All right, now those pins are cut to different heights, right? So you're pushing the pins against spring tension until the slot between the two pins come together, line up with the top of the lock cylinder called the shear line, so it can turn. If they're not lined up, the pins stop it from turning. Now, why am I not the best in the world with this? Because finesse is not my game, and this is a game of finesse. What do you need to pick a pin and tumbler lock? Well, excellent question. Not the least being a tension tool, okay? And this is a cheap set of lock picks I got from TRS. Come with 3 picks and a tension tool. As you see, it's dual-ended. One of them is narrow, one of them is wide. Now, how do you know which one to use? Well, it depends on the keyway, all right? You want to make sure you get good tension. For this lock, I like the wide end. All right, every lock that I have picked to date with this set, I've always used the wide end. The narrow end just doesn't bite enough. Okay. Now, the picks that I have the single pin picks, which manipulate one at a time. This is the one I'm going to use. This is one I'm best with for single pin picking. Feeler pick, just a simple hook shake. The other one's a half diamond. If it's an unknown lock, I will use this one where you should use a feeler pick. The other one I have is what's called a skyline rake. As you see, it kind of looks like a city skyline, okay? It's got some hills and valleys. Now, if you get really lucky, push this in down on your pin, they line up, pops open, as long as you have good tension, all right? Don't count on getting that lucky. I haven't yet. Now, I tend to do what's kind of colloquially known as bitch picking with a single pin. I'll just stick this feeler pin in and I'll start bouncing the pins up and down the line, and eventually I'll hit the sweet spot and the lock will pop open. All right. What I'm doing is I'm actually raising it and lifting it, obviously in very small increments. I'm just exaggerating for the sake of camera. Use a rake in much the same way. You can rock it back and forth, all right, or you can go in and out, or you can do what I'll probably end up doing, which is a combination of the above. Now, what's funny about this is I used to be a whole lot better with a rake. Now I'm a whole lot better with a feeler pick. And I'm going to use both. Obviously not at the same time. Disclaimer. I don't need the owner of this lock's permission because the person picking it is the owner. Me. I bought it. North Carolina does require a locksmithing license to perform locksmithing services. Any manipulation of any lock, to my knowledge, that's not yours. I could be wrong. But there again, this is my lock. It's not securing anything. I'm not breaking into anything. I'm not committing a crime because I'm not actually repairing or otherwise doing anything in this lock other than acting as though I have a key. So I put my tension wrench in there, and I like to use the top of the keyway, the wider end, just because you're going to interfere with your pins if you go in here at the bottom. Now, there's two ways you can do this. You have to know which direction the lock cylinder turns. Otherwise, you're just going to have to redo it. Okay? This one, if you are looking at this lock cylinder from this way, it turns to the picker's right. So if you're looking at the lock cylinder as I am now, I know it turns to the right. So there's two ways to do that. I can have the tension tool hanging down, pushing up and clockwise, or I can have the tension tool itself up, pushing down and clockwise, which this is kind of how I prefer to do this lock. I'm going to start with the single pin, the feeler pick. Now, I'll look at what I'm doing just so I can kind of keep track of how deep my pick is, but you're not going to see your pins, so don't get sight dependent on this, okay? You're not going to see them. They're spring loaded. You'll see the first one. You will not see the second, third, up to however many. And then you just go in there and just very, very light tension. And I just felt my pins bind, which means I get to turn it back and restart. There we go. All right. Now, I'm usually a lot faster with that, but somehow that's how the cookie crumbles. Again, I'm not a master at this. I am just learning. So as y'all see, lock is relocked. Now, you don't necessarily have to, but I always give my locks a quick turn with the tension wrench going the other way to make sure they're locked before I start a second time. Now we're going with the Skyline rake. Oh, missed one. There we go. Again, make sure you know your local laws before you start picking locks. Do it legally. And why might you want to learn how to lock pick? One, it helps you learn the weaknesses of your own locks. Okay. And if you get really good at it, you can figure out about how long it takes to pick your lock. Now, I've got a collection of locks that I practice on, including the one on my front door. But, no, I will never pick the lock on my front door because I don't want y'all to see what fucking tool I'm using. Maybe I use that Skyline rake. Maybe I use a single pin. I don't know. I will tell you this. If you're worried about someone picking your lock, okay, number one, people who pick locks are probably not doing residential break-ins just for the sake of stealing your shit, unless you've got really high-value items. So here's the solution. Dogs or an alarm system, which my dogs are my alarm system. You can't come in my yard without them raising hell. Lock picking is surreptitious by nature. It's quiet. Okay, how much noise did that lock make either time it popped? Exactly. Deadbolt's a itty bit louder, but I promise you it's a whole lot quieter than a master key. What's a master key? Well, there's a couple of master keys. A Halligan bar is a master key. A 30-pound door ram is a master key. A 15-pound sledgehammer is a master key. A 12-gauge shotgun is a master key. And obviously explosives are definitely a master key. What do those things do that a lockpick doesn't? They make a lot of noise. Okay? If I hear a loud bang, a loud crash coming from my front door, you know what? Someone's about to have a bad fucking day. Okay? Because there's no good reason to be forcibly kicking indoors, bashing them in with tools, etc. indoors. That's someone picking the lock. Well, it sounds like someone using a key. All right? So, me personally, there's two people in my house, me and my wife. No one else would come here without letting us know. So my situation might be a little bit different. Again, I have dogs. People picking locks are trying to be quiet. When dogs start barking, and my dogs are inside dogs, so they're inside. They're barking. As soon as that door tries to open, they know, we know. So most people who are picking a lock are going to bounce. They're going to DD-mow when they hear that. Those forcing entry, a little bit different story. That doesn't mean it's the end of it. Now, why am I learning how to pick locks? One, it's fun. Okay, we have some humdinger storms here where I'm at. And power gets knocked out. Sometimes it's out for a couple days. You can't read magazines but so many times before it gets old. Sit around, pick locks. Okay, sit around, buy some padlocks, sit around, pick them. It's a great way to pass time. Why else? Who knows? I might decide to get a locksmithing business one day and do it on the side. I might decide to hire someone with a locksmithing license so I can offer penetration testing through my company. You never know. But I do think I need to know how to do it. If nothing else, it makes me better at assessing the weaknesses of a lock when I'm performing a security consult at a business or a residence. So I say, look, I'm familiar with this type of lock. It picks really easy. You might want to change that. By the way, here's a licensed locksmith that I know who can legally do that for you. If I don't understand the weaknesses of a lock, I can't do that. That makes me less than adequate at my job. So, and again, it's fun. It gives me something to do when I'm sitting around with nothing going on. So, I hope you all enjoyed this. Not really an instructional, just a quick down and dirty. This is Kenny Smith, Total Force Holdings. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.